Where did we come from? The Bible says, in the beginning, God created. Evolution teaches the opposite. No one created. It all happened by itself. Which one is the truth? This is Headquarters. Doc M. Jackie. And Rich. Their job? Investigate and discover the truth. This is The Creation Case.
Jackie?
Yes, Doctor?
I love getting emails, but this one is especially far out.
Really? What does it say?
Well, it's from Kevin in Perth, Australia.
Perth? Wow, that's pretty far out.
It is. He writes, "Good day, Doc M. How you doing, mate?"
Doc M, you don't have to try to talk with an Australian accent.
Oh. Well, he writes, "Last night I was watching my favorite TV show, Space City Ranger." That's nice. "I never miss an episode. In this episode, General Nova sent RG-89 back in time 1,000,000 years in a time machine to save planet Aurora. I know, these are just stories, but it seems like all space stories take place way in the future or way in the past. Is there anything in real life about space that can tell us about creation? Cheers, Kevin."
Wow, that's pretty impressive. He must really like that TV show, considering he's never missed an episode.
Well, I've heard it's a pretty interesting show.
I guess, but can something so far from the truth even be that entertaining?
Yes.
Doc M, is that a Space City Rangers t-shirt?
What are you talking about?
Doc M, what does your t-shirt say? Space City Rangers Cadet?
What? Tell me you don't want a cool t-shirt like this.
No, I'm good. I'm just gonna get this whole space thing over to Rich, see if he can investigate it.
By the way, where is Rich anyway?
I don't know, but I do recall him saying something about trying not to get stuck.
Stuck? What is he up to today? I'm okay.
All right, I'm just gonna send this over to Rich now.
Do you have a creation question for Headquarters? Send your questions to Doc, Jackie, and Rich by visiting our website at thecreationcase.com.
Hey, I think we have a message from HQ. It's probably our new assignment. Well, I might as well check it now. Doesn't look like I'm going anywhere soon.
Hi, Rich. I hope you're doing well and not stuck or anything.
How does she know?
Doc M has your next assignment ready. We need you to investigate space. Of course, you can't travel to space or anything, but explore any creation evidence about space we can learn from here on planet Earth.
Rich, you're not stuck again, are you?
He'll be fine, Doc M. Last time he was only stuck for 2 hours. We look forward to your report.
I can explain. All I did was I twisted my foot like this. Whoa! I'm okay. At least I'm free again. Ah. Space. That sounds fun. Let's let HQ know I'm on the case. Got it. Space. You know, there's a name for this. The study of the universe is called cosmology. Cosmology. That's what I'm going to call my report. I better get this down in my journal. Cosmology. Cosmology. Where do we begin? This is a tough one. It's getting late, so we better get back to camp, and I'll figure this out in the morning. Right now, let's get out of this slot canyon, hopefully without getting stuck again.
Help us investigate today. Download and print your own free journal study guide at thecreationcase.com.
Well, we finally made it out of that slot canyon. First thing in the morning, we'll be starting our investigation. Wow, what a great night to look at stars.
A lot of people look to space for answers on how and when everything started. Fortunately, the Bible tells us how the universe began. It's interesting how man's science books are constantly changing as scientists discover they're wrong and have to correct them.
You know, the nice thing is that the Bible never changes. It never needs to. It's the Word of God. Still, does the Bible say anything about space or cosmology? The book of Job refers to planet Earth as suspended in space, and Isaiah refers to the Earth as being round.
Remember, some ancient cultures thought the world was flat.
What about the moon? I set up my telescope because it's a beautiful clear night. Why don't we take a peek?
The moon, quite an amazing object floating in our sky. Secular astronomers have lots of questions, but few answers about the moon. How long's it been there? How did it get into such a nice orbit? How did it get perfectly round?
That's not all. There's more problems.
Atheists, or people that don't believe in God, actually do not like the Big Bang Theory because it's basically saying that our universe simply formed out of nothing, all by itself. They're realizing that it's not a very scientific explanation to say that our wonderful complex universe simply created itself. Have you ever heard of matter such as stars and planets appearing out of nothing? Or energy appearing out of nothing? Or what about space? How does space get made? Or what about time? How could the idea of time have created itself?
I think I'm going to write that down in my journal.
Believing that a universe could simply create itself is not very scientific.
You know, this is a nice little telescope, but people that look deep into space use larger telescopes. Optical telescopes look into space, and radio telescopes listen to space. We should go visit one. There's a radio telescope array a couple states away in California. An array means there's a whole bunch of them. We'll have to go first thing in the morning. Telescopes are always located far away from everything. To visit a radio telescope, we need to go somewhere so far that there's no radio interference with their signal. You know, today's a great day for a bike ride, so I have my bike on the rack, and we're gonna ride the last little way in to the telescopes. Scientists build telescopes so that they can look and listen into deep space and learn about the universe. Evolution teaches that in the beginning there was nothing. No energy, no space, no matter, not even time existed. Sounds a lot like what the Bible describes the beginning was like. The big difference is that the Bible teaches that God was in the beginning. So, back to evolution. They say in the beginning that time and space didn't even exist.
The idea is that somehow, about 14 billion years ago, a microscopic object appears out of nowhere and starts growing. Time, space, and matter is somehow formed. They call this the Big Bang Theory. Evolutionists think it's crazy that an all-powerful God created the universe. But ask yourself, which is harder to believe, that a God created the universe, or that a speck of dust suddenly exploded and created the entire universe by itself?
If you ask me, a whole universe
Appearing by itself?
that doesn't sound very scientific.
That's because complex things need a creator.
This is a radio telescope array. Each one of these dishes here are pointing into space and collecting information. They can detect stuff that we can't see with our eyes or even with an optical telescope. We need to get a little closer. Come on.
Scientists calculate that there are about 1 septillion stars in the universe. That's a 1 with 24 zeros behind it. We're supposed to believe that they all came from a single speck of dust. Then why is there so much diversity in the objects we see in space if it all came from a single speck? Why do we see stars and planets and comets and asteroids and so on? All made from different substances and materials. Where did all that diversity come from?
Wow, what a great view. These dishes remind me how big space is. I think I'm going to sketch this place in my journal. You know, if we do the math backwards, we should actually see 32,000 stars forming every second for the last 20 billion years. So what do we see in reality? In the last couple thousand years that man has been studying the stars, we have never seen a single new star formed. Not one.
Some would say maybe they all appeared at once. I'd say that sounds like God creating.
You know, when I was a kid, I always wanted to go to space. I wish we could go there now, but of course it's kind of difficult. Hey, you know what? I got a great idea. It requires some special effects, but I think it'll be great. Come on.
Hi, cadets. Hello, everyone. Doc M here at headquarters. Since we all have space on our brain today, not literally, it's time for a lesson in space-time. You ask, what is space-time? Yes, that sounds like a little strange, but let me explain. As you probably know, the objects in our solar system move in circles. Each one of those circles is a measure of time. Here's our planet, Earth. It's constantly spinning like this. Not that fast and faster. It spins about 1,000 miles per hour. Whoa, that's fast. Anyway, each time our planet spins one time around, it equals 1 day. What about a month? Where does that come from? We need a moon. Here's our moon. A month comes from the moon. While the Earth is spinning, The moon is orbiting the Earth. It's slowly going in circles like this. When the moon has gone around the Earth one full time, that makes a month. What about a year? Good question. Where does that come from? While the Earth spins, it's also going around the sun. We need a sun. And the sun is in the center. So the Earth is spinning while it's orbiting the sun. And each time the Earth does one full orbit or circle around the sun, it equals one full year. It kind of looks like this. Great. You're doing wonderful. But what about a week? Where does that come from? Did you know that the week has nothing to do with space? Not the sun or the moon or the Earth? Nothing. Zippo. Nada. So where did this 7-day period come from? For as long as recorded history exists, people have been keeping a 7-day week. Seems like kind of a mystery, doesn't it? Actually, it's no mystery at all. The 7-day week comes right from the Bible. Creation week. Pretty neat, huh? While many people around the world claim they don't believe in God, or they believe that the world evolved, they are living their lives in the special time frame that God set aside for us when He created us. God created us for 6 days, then rested on the 7th. Then He told us to live our lives by this simple 7-day formula. Thousands of years later, the planet lives on in that 7-day week. The 7-day week has nothing to do with space. It's simply more evidence that makes me know God is my creator.
Hey everyone, it's me, Rich Aguilera. I'd love to see you at one of our live events. To see where I'll be speaking, visit our website, thecreationcase.com.
Well, I finally got to float like I was in outer space. Well, sorta. You know, sometimes we forget that it's God that created the laws of physics, like gravity. The moon is smaller than Earth, so there's less gravity on the moon. If here you weigh 100 pounds, on the moon you would only weigh 16 pounds. In deep space, you would weigh nothing. You would just float. You know, speaking about gravity, we can learn a lot about space by studying the stuff that falls from the sky and lands on our planet. Most of the stuff that falls from space burns up in our atmosphere, but once in a while, meteoroids make it through and land here on Earth. Not far from here in Arizona, there's a place where a meteor did make it through the atmosphere and crashed into the ground and left a pretty huge crater. We should go check it out. The crater here in this very windy place is one of the most famous in the world. At some point, a meteorite came and crashed here, going approximately 26,000 miles per hour. When a meteor crashes into the planet, it forms a crater. Check out the size of this crater.
There are other much larger craters in the world, but this is probably the most famous one in the United States.
The meteor crater here is over 500 feet deep and almost a mile across. No one knows exactly when this meteoroid crashed into the Earth, but since it only disturbed the upper layers, we assume it was sometime after the flood. Check out how this meteor crater looks from the sky. Objects flying through space pass by our planet all the time. They can also provide us clues about the universe. For example, there are meteoroids, there's asteroids, and there's also comets. A meteoroid, also known as a falling star, is a small sand-sized particle up to a boulder-sized particle that flies through space and orbits our sun. An asteroid is much larger. It's a rock or metal object that's also orbiting our sun. On the other hand, a comet is a little different. It's made up of ice, dust, and rock particles, and it can be huge, even miles across. When a comet passes too close to the sun, the ice begins to vaporize and can leave a trail thousands of miles long that can be seen even here from Earth. Hey, I also have a picture of a comet here on my phone. Check it out. Unlike meteoroids, which are a quick flash of light in the sky as they burn up in the atmosphere, comets seem to hang in the sky for weeks at a time as they pass by our planet. In reality, they're moving over 100,000 miles per hour. No one knows exactly for sure how comets form, but we do know that every time they pass by the sun, they are losing more and more ice, dust, and debris. So here's the problem. A lot of comets orbit the sun every few years, but there's a few out there that have shorter orbits and some have longer orbits. Since they lose material every time they pass the sun, they're getting smaller. It also means that some of these comets would only last a couple hundred years or maybe a couple thousand years. The problem is that scientists teach that comets were formed from the material left over from the formation of planets billions of years ago. Comets simply don't have a long enough lifespan to have been created a billion years ago.
Yes, some comets may be pretty old, but they will lose material when they pass by a star.
I'm going to write that down in my journal.
It is unlikely that comets that occasionally orbit near stars could be billions of years old.
Actually, this is a cool spot. I think I'm going to sketch this too. Remember what the Bible says in Genesis. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Wow, it's really amazing to think just how big space is. It's great that many smart scientists are trying to peek into deep space to figure out what's out there. All I know is that there is so much more that we don't know compared to what we do know. Well, I need to finish up my report and send it to HQ. Remember, if you want to read it, just go to our website.
A close look at the universe creates a lot of problems for atheists. Secular scientists aren't even sure how the moon formed. Believing that the universe created itself is not a very scientific idea. Comets do not have long enough lifespans to have been created billions of years ago.
You know, God is like the sun. He is the light of this world. All good comes from Him. Just like we need the sun for life to exist on this planet. The neat thing is that at night, we can't see the sun, but sometimes we see the moon reflecting the light from the sun. Did you know that God has called us to be like the moon? He wants us to reflect His light of goodness to everyone. We sometimes forget that we can't make our own light. We can only reflect God's. I hope that everywhere you go, people will always see God reflected in the things that you do in your life. I hope you'll join me again for our next assignment. Remember, God the Creator loves what He creates, especially you. Good night.
Wait, don't leave! We have bloopers! Like this crazy wind! Stop! Object that is also orbiting our sun. Orbiting our sun. I kind of fell over.
Something about... Forgot what he said.
As they orbit our planet.
Oh, were you done?
Since we all have space on that, is to start.
By our planet. I forgot the walk away.